Hey, welcome to the Cam and Otis Show. Uh, this week, a brother from a regiment, from our regiment, a brother from the regiment. There we go. I get the wording right, and I guess that would make his son my nephew from the regiment. Uh,
Probably.
we have Ranger Johnson and Gino Johnson, my brother and my nephew. You didn't know that, Gino, did you? You know you were my nephew?
New information. Hey, Uncle.
That's right. That's right. Hey, man, great to have y'all. It's always fun, and a father-son team, which is also fun because Camden and I were talking about this the other day. You know that father-son combination. We've seen it. Camden and I seen has some really good friends, and it's interesting dynamic sometimes. But it's also a lot of fun too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I just want to kick us off there, Ranger, and started it off with a little bit of history lesson. Where or when or both did you get that call to serve? When did that little bird in your head say, hey, Ranger? And previous to being Ranger, you had to be Terry. So it probably said, hey, Terry, go see the recruiter. When did that
You know
happen?
what? It's funny, Otis, because I always tell a story. I'm a motivational speaker. And so when I was 7th grade, I was watching a movie called The Green Berets, right? My hero, John Wayne. And
Yep.
I had no idea what a Green Beret was. I just watched the movie The Green Berets. And I literally went to bed that night and I had a dream that I was in those old those tan khaki uniforms with the jump boots. I had a dream that night. God. And so all of a sudden, I wanted to be a Green Beret, 7th grade. And I grew up in East Texas, man. I grew up hauling hay and cutting pulpwood. Y'all don't know what that is, but basically, I'm a country boy from East Texas. Grew up on a dirt road. I remember getting running water for the first time, and my granddad was the preacher, so we wasn't in poverty. We actually got our first bathroom in the community, indoor bathroom that is. In the community, people come by. Hey, preacher, let me see that indoor toilet flush. The deacons would come by. But anyway, I saw the movie The Green Berets, and I saw John Wayne, and I wanted to be a Green Beret. Now, they don't tell you how really hard it is to become one. You just kind of see you hear the music and you see the Green Beret, and they don't tell you everything you got to go do to get it. But that was really my first time, and I just couldn't get it out of my head, and I wanted to serve, and I wanted to be a Green Beret. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, brother.
How did that fascination with the movie and with the character from John Wayne, how did that build into that more like sense of servitude as you go through? Because obviously, as much as great as that is and that picture is, once you get in there, there's got to be a little bit more that's driving you to go through that training.
Yeah, but you know what? The Green Beret itself, and of course, your dad will tell you when you look at the history of the Green Berets and JFK, President Kennedy, kind of making that official headgear. So when I got in the military, even at that point, you understand, I didn't go to Special Forces training until I had 9 years in the Army. Mm-hmm. I've been a drill sergeant before. I've been 2 years in the 1st Ranger Battalion. So by the time I went to the Special Forces training, I was an E6 promotable, getting ready to make E7. But still, to me, the Green Beret was the ultimate. I mean, you got Rambo, you got movies, you got books, and people want to know what that is. So I will never forget. And I know Otis can attest to this. The night after you go through the course and they say don berets, which is put your beret on, that feeling of accomplishment with my buddies, mm-hmm. and knowing, hey, I'm one of America's best right now, today. And still to this day with my buddies that served in the SF, whether it's, guys my age, and I'm 58 years old, or when I meet younger guys that are just getting out, or even some older Vietnam guys, we have that level of respect for each other because of it just brings you together, man. And I love that because, it doesn't matter what era you served in. If you went through that training and you're bad enough to make it through and serve on a team, I salute you and respect you. So, and I tell people all the time, when people say ex-Green Beret, I get offensive to that. Because it's like calling someone with a PhD. My son has a master's degree, and he'll talk about that in a little bit. He's a CPA. Now, just because he's not working as a CPA now, he's still a CPA. So why would you ever say, come up to the oldest and say, you're an ex-Green Beret? That's disrespectful. No one took my tab or my diploma, and I still have both of them. Right? And that's really what it means to me to serve and to see my brothers and to see those guys. And I mean, it's just a passion I have today. And I watch, I know I'm old fashioned. I tell people all the time, I love ceremonies, watching people carry the flag, and I love all that stuff. I love it. And when I see the videos of SF guys training and overseas and doing their stuff and shooting and jumping out of planes, now look, my back won't allow me to do that to this day, right? Not right now, but in my mind, I'm still jumping out of planes and doing water jumps and going overseas and doing that with my brothers. So it's something I don't believe I'll ever get tired of talking about or watching, because it means so much to me.
I'm right there with you, man. I mean, just every time I see one of those videos or whatever, it's like, yeah, back in the day, that was. Hey, but Gino, man, I'm curious because I think some people have asked Camden this a couple of times, but growing up under your dad's umbrella like that as a Green Beret and a drill sergeant. So Camden, that's a whole nother experience that you didn't get.
I thought I did push-ups. Holy crap.
Yeah. I'm just curious, what's the best lesson that you've taken into life since, growing up with dad as a Green Beret, a Ranger, and drill sergeant?
To that question, I would say probably just don't quit. I think just all of my upbringing, it was about working hard, giving your all, never quitting, having a positive attitude. And I can distinctly remember a conversation I had with my dad when we were in college. When I was in college, actually, I was a freshman at Ole Miss, and I was in the middle of my first accounting class, and I hated accounting. I hated it. My friend, it was hard. I never had to study before. School was always easy for me. I was a B student all throughout school. And I called my dad. I said, you know what? This accounting stuff is not for me. And he was like, son, do you want to leave it because it's too hard for you? Or do you want to leave it because it's just, you're really called to do something else? And I was like, because it's too hard. I don't want to do this. But he said, that's not a good reason to quit something. And so, I said I was going to go ahead and stick through it, and was able to make it through, got my bachelor's and my master's in accounting, and became a CPA. And it was hard work the whole way, but I really learned to just not quit, give your all, and no matter how tough it gets, when the going gets tough get going.
I have to say, when I was thinking to myself, because I actually don't think I get asked that question that much, Dad, because honestly, you've taught me a lot of different things over the course of my life, especially once we start dipping into rugby and that type of stuff. But I was going to say perseverance. So I'm right there along that same channel. I think that's the big guiding light over everything else that I've been talked through. But I also got to, give you your praise, Gino, that you deserve, because as somebody who studied agribusiness and took my 2 accounting classes, never going down that route.
I hear you, Cam. Yes, agreed.
So Ranger, man, you retired and you went off, separated like most of us. I am curious because I know a lot of, I work with veterans all the time, or soon to be veterans all the time. And I know you do too, but I'm curious, when you stepped away, had your retirement ceremony, did you do the thank you very much, I'm out, and then take off on your path and then become the prodigal son like I did, or did you embrace it?
You know what? That's a great question, Otis, because I thought I was that guy that was going to retire and not have an issue when I got out. And I'm done and I'm going to move on. I found something out. I did 20 years in the Army. I went in at 17, retired at 37. But I wasn't just in the Army got in me. And so it literally took me about 2 years to try to figure out who I was without the uniform. Because you got to understand, I joined the Army 2 weeks out of high school. I graduated May the 23rd. I was in the Army June the 10th, 1980. 2 weeks out of high school. So that is, as an adult, all I knew was serving, drill sergeant, Ranger, Green Beret, go get it done, rah, rah, rah. Then all of a sudden, I had my big retirement ceremony a Friday at Fort Bragg, right in the SF auditorium there in Switch. You know, my grandmother came, my uncles and aunts came, my mom came, family members. It was great. It was a big to-do, you know. I was volunteering at the end of my career at a little school, Riley Road Elementary School. I had some kindergarten kids come. Oh, God, it was great. They gave me my Meritorious Service Medal. It was great. People cried. They played the national anthem. I saluted. I cried. And Monday morning, I didn't know who I was. Literally, I can remember getting up Monday morning going, okay, what's next? So for 2 years, now I actually got started volunteering in schools. A little lady named Jean Jackson got me to come volunteer to school and start talking to kids about a year before I retired. And little did I know she would play a major role even in what I do today, because she went to this prison called Morrison County Correctional Institute. You went to the land nav course out there and there's a prison out there doing land nav. Special Forces guys will notice Fort Bragg. There was a prison you had to go by doing land navigation. You probably remember it, Otis. She got me to come out there and do a prison ministry program with youth. And I volunteered. And from that really took off to writing and publishing books and doing things of that nature. But I will tell you, without Miss Jean Jackson kind of guiding me and saying, what about come help these kids? Because, you know, it gave me a mission. And this is what I found out about veterans. We are mission oriented. Still to this day, I have a training schedule. I got it written down today. I write it down at night. I got a book. I can tell you what I've done every day since I retired over the last 20 years. Matter of fact, I can go back further than that, because I started doing this about 5 to 7 years before I retired, writing notes down. What am I going to accomplish every day? You know, so without a mission of speaking to kids and motivating kids, and prison ministry is what I got involved in, is character education programs. Well, what it does for me, let me just tell you, it makes me feel like I'm still useful. I'm still helping people. And I can't say I don't have anything to do, because I got a mission. So what I'll say to you with this is, it took about 2 years to figure that out and get going into that, because look, I didn't get out of the Army at 20 because I wanted to. I have degenerative disc L5 vertebrae in my back. I had to come off jump status my last year because I couldn't jump out of airplanes anymore. I personally was a 30-year guy. I was going to do 30 years. I was going to be the first African-American command sergeant major of the Army. You see, I didn't make that. I retired as an E8. So I literally did not retire because I wanted to retire. I retired because physically I was unable to be a Green Beret and be on a team anymore. And that's a psychological thing too, because, you know, it's kind of like a pro football player. You just reach a point where your body can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is because it wasn't on your terms, right?
Right.
And that makes it more difficult. And I was saying miss because I'm a premonition, because I want to know how you met Miss Jean. I'm really curious, because that's how she became your guide to guide you into that transformation and find yourself.
You know, it's crazy because one of my sons, Justin Johnson, he actually, played basketball at Ole Miss. That's how we ended up going to Ole Miss. And this son, Gino, ended up going. But Justin was a top athlete while we were at Fort Bragg. And I was coaching him when he was about 10 years old on a little football team. And somehow Miss Jean saw me coaching these little kids. They called me Coach Johnson. I was coaching them. And she saw me and she said, Terry said, "Can I talk to you?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she told me who she was, and she was a school teacher at a school. And she said, "Can you come out and talk to these kids?" I said, "I'll see, Jean." So I went out to the school, again, Riley Road Elementary in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And of course, now I got to say it like this so you get the picture. Miss Jean Jackson is a little white lady. She stands about this tall on me, and she was older, okay? And when I get to the school, she looks me in the eye and says, "You're a black man." I say, I know that, Gene. I've been black all my life, right? She says, that's not what I'm talking about. She says, because of who you are and your background, I believe you can help these kids because they don't see too many people like you in their lives. Now you got to understand, I never worked in a school before. I never volunteered in a school before. I'd never done anything like that. So I literally didn't even know what I was going to teach these kids. So I went in and started teaching them little stuff like Coach Johnson says. Now, what is that? That's kind of like Simon says. So I was teaching them discipline. Coach Johnson says, stand up, freeze. And I would have little awards at the end of the class. And these are kindergarten kids. And I would write up an award, bring it back next week and give it to 2 kids at the end. So I literally volunteered for 2 years. It was every Tuesday and Thursday, my first year, then 1 day a week the second year. And I found out something. Kids would listen to me. And I had no idea what I was going to do, but that led the path of me, writing books, developing my own programs. But Gene Jackson made me believe. Let me tell you this story. So one day I was at the school teaching, and I just finished talking to the little kindergarten kids, and at the end of it, I still had my uniform on. I was working in SWIC at the time, and so I had a little easy job. So I went with my uniform, my green beret on, and everything like that. And as I got ready to go, a little kid came up and grabbed my kneecap because they're kindergarten kids. They wasn't that tall, And he was hugging around my kneecap. I got my BDUs on. I looked down, and he looks up at me and says, Coach Johnson, I love you. Now, I don't know if anyone can identify with this because I don't cry. I holler. A big knot, Otis, came in my throat. And Cam, you'll get this. A big knot. And I knew I was about to, I had my uniform on, I had my green beret. I couldn't break down in the class. I just couldn't do it. So I quickly said, I love you too, little Johnny, whatever his name was, right? And I run out the class. And normally I understand protocol leaving the school. I would stop and say, Miss Jean, thank you for letting me come today. And I would say something to the principal, but not that day. I literally sprinted out the front door, didn't sign out, got in my truck, started driving away. And I can remember crying like I was at a funeral. And I started crying because I thought, here's this little black boy. He feels love for me. He didn't know me that well, but he knew I came every week and taught positive life lessons. And because of that, there was a connection. And maybe for the first time in his life, he felt that. And I got home and I told my wife, Renee, I said, baby, now at this time, I probably had about less than a year to retire. And I said, I have no idea what I'm going to do when I retire, but it's got to be something dealing with kids. And that's how I got started doing what I'm doing now for 20 years. But literally, that's why I tell people all the time, the people in your path. Miss Jean Jackson saw more in me than I saw in myself. And she would always stop me in the middle of the hall and look at me and say, Terry, are you chosen to do this? Or are you just out here doing something with the kids? I mean, I'm sitting there looking at her like, my God, Gene, that's heavy. I don't know if I'm chosen. I mean, who is chosen, right? And I can remember writing her a letter, and I still communicate with her. And she lives in Kentucky now. And I write Miss Jean a letter. She's a retired teacher now. And I sent her one of my books, and I told her in one of the books, I said, I'm chosen. It took, almost 2 decades to figure that out. But yes, I am chosen to motivate kids.
What was that process like of realizing that you had a lot to teach? Because I think there's a gap there of kind of feeling that call to teach, feeling that call to serve, especially with children and this type of thing. That's something I experienced in rugby. And then realizing that you already have a lot of that knowledge, that there's not this gap. I think a lot of us, when we look at other teachers and coaches in our lives, we envision there's this huge gap between where you start off and where they are. And, obviously they have a lot of knowledge, they have a lot of experience, but I think that a lot of the time it really comes down to, can you realize how much knowledge you have inside yourself? So I'd love to hear what that kind of process was like for you as you kind of explored this new role.
Really, it was just about having the passion. Uh, I mean, look, me coming a Green Beret, and again, that played a lot in my thinking, in teaching, and education, because people don't realize back when I went to the Q course, Special Force Qualification course, I graduated in 1989. Otis, what year did you graduate the Q course?
94.
94. So back when I went,
Like
yeah, put you on the spot. Sorry. 93. So back when I went to the Q course in 1989, they were investing $1 million per soldier. $1 million per soldier. I'm sure it's way more now. But in thinking in those about that, I thought, you know what? At that time, I didn't have a degree when I first retired. I ended up getting one afterwards. But I thought I have just as much education and knowledge in me than anybody out here. The military, the special forces, they put $1 million in me. And last time I checked, I could get a degree from anywhere in this world, probably a PhD for less than $1 million, right? That motivated me and gave me enough encouragement to say, I do have something to offer. Because what most people do is we doubt ourselves. Most people out here doubt themselves. I mean, and I want my son to talk about this. You know, when he encouraged me to start helping veterans with our business, Champion Builders, because, you know, what I was doing for the last, you know, I retired in 2000. I was at 10% when I retired, you know, disabled. And my back was jacked up and they were telling me, you're okay. And when I went to the VA in Salisbury, North Carolina, my first walked in there and they said, hey, Mr. Johnson, glad to see you. I know you're here for your back. Can you do something for me? I said, sure, Doc. Bend over and touch your toes. Well, young, 37, just retired. I thought he was giving me an order, although I had, you know, degenerative disc, L5 vertebrae in my back, and my back was hurt. Guess what I did, Otis and Cam? I bent over and touched my toes. Mm-hmm. And with that, I walked out with nothing. 10% disability. 10%. With 120 jumps out of airplanes, 20 years of combat, everything. And so that started that journey. And I want my son to talk a little bit about this. See, because this is what I want you to realize, Cam. The value you bring to Otis and vice versa. He couldn't do this program without you and your knowledge. Yeah, he's trained you on some stuff. But right now, just like my son Gino is doing, I became the student and he's the teacher in Zoom calls, technology, business setup. As a matter of fact, he's the CEO of the company. I guess so. I work for him, Otis. Right? You see what I'm saying?
Go.
Oh yeah.
Son, if you could, and I know, you know, I want you to kind of talk about how you told me, Dad, you're doing it the caveman way, and made me believe we could do something even different now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm definitely going to get into that real quick. To go back to your prior point, just about really seeing something in yourself. I got another story for you guys. When I was growing up, when I was in high school, I didn't really play football until I was a sophomore in high school. And that summer before we started, my dad took me over to the campus to go ahead and join with the high school football team. And they were in the middle of a summer workout. They were finishing up. They were on the track running some sprints. I had some cargo shorts, I think even like a kind of a collared shirt on. And we get out there, and my dad, he just walks up to the coaches, and he starts talking. He said, son, go out and run with your team. Go out and run with your teammates. I said, you want me to do what? Go run with your teammates. They were out there running sprints, no warm up. Thankfully, I was, 15, so it wasn't as big of a deal. You bounce back. But I went out there and started sprinting while he was talking to the coach. And, I'm grateful for that, because that was a story I was able to tell all throughout high school, and guys would make fun of me about it. Like, you remember when you came out here running in your cargo shorts and your dad made you run? But it really helped me to go, I can do this no matter what I'm wearing, whatever it may be. And so I really appreciated that. But, to my dad's point about champion builders, Yeah, I saw what he was doing. I was working at Home Depot in their corporate office. I was here about 5 years in their corporate office doing a kind of accounting and auditing type functions. And, I really, I had been experiencing different things online and just, of course, YouTube, university, you see different things going on. I've learned from different online courses and I was talking to my dad about how he'd been helping vets. And, it was just really life changing. And I saw that it was really a system that he could use, but he was just kind of spending a lot of time one-on-one, 6 to 8 hours per vet. And I said, you know what? I see what you're doing, and it makes perfect sense. Like, we can really take what you're doing and bring it to an online course and create a program out of what you're doing and help out a lot more people. And I didn't have any knowledge about like the VA system or really just the process itself, but I saw that it was something that could be replicated and you can just change people's lives and record it on Zoom and do webinars. And that's basically what we ended up doing. We took his system, we put it together in PowerPoints and it was a step-by-step system. And, we started this back in July and we did the course live using Zoom webinars on a week-to-week basis, about 6 weeks or so. And now it's completely on demand. And now we talk to vets and folks' lives are getting changed. We were talking to a student last week who went from 50 to 70% in a VA rating. And now he's able to retire. And he's in that point where he can go total and permanent disabled with that 70% rating. And so it took him 6 weeks from finishing up our course. And so it's just, amazing to me to be able to change lives like that. And, I always tell this, I was personally impacted by my dad not getting his benefits. He already said it took him 17 years to get to 100%. Had he gotten there back in 2000, when he deserved it, I would have saved about 40,000 or so on college tuition. So, I was personally impacted by that. And I'm just passionate about seeing other families not be in the same position. It's just amazing to be a part of something that's life-changing and helping people in that way.
I'm curious because you're the accountant. When you had this, you, Gino, had this kind of revelation of, hey, Dad, we can create a system. What was the ratio that you went from Dad doing basically one vet a day to now, whatever? And I'm just kind of curious, what's that jump that you made because that's an important business point. Yeah. You helped Dad create this system. So now you're doing exponent, I'm going to assume exponential. So what's that number?
Wow. So yeah, how many vets you helped in 3 years? 20 vets or so?
20 vets in 3 years.
So we started this program in July. We've got over 60 people in just under 4 months. So that's pretty exponential compared to that 3-year period, right? So yeah, it's pretty amazing. And we talked to about 40 vets a week.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And, it must help, I always use the term, fill your cup up, right? Yeah. It must help you feel, because, you have that, I know, Ranger, you have that desire to serve and give back. And Gino, I'm seeing that in you too. And when you give back to, a community that you're passionate about, that's just gotta really, I'm feeling good about what y'all are doing, and I ain't even helping you.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna tell you, Otis, myself first. Let me say this, and I want to tell you a story about one of the vets we helped. I thank God for my son Gino because, I'm an old school dude, and I will admit that, and that's good in some ways. I like working hard, being focused, driven, and those type of qualities you need no matter what you're doing. But he actually drove down from Atlanta, Georgia, and I live in South Louisiana, and because he had to make me believe we could do this when he started talking to me on the phone. He's like, Dad, you don't get it. I'm like, son, I don't know. He's like, okay, I'm finna come see you. And he spent a week with me, literally set me down and said, Dad, let me show you what's going on. You're already teaching this course. You're already helping people. He's like, you'll do a webinar. I'm like, what's a webinar? Well, you sit, you do a PowerPoint slide. So I've been doing PowerPoint slides I started that in the Army. He said, well, yeah, you do a put your class on a PowerPoint slide and you sit in front of your computer and you just teach. I said, is that a webinar? Is that all it is? He said, yeah. And I record it. I'm like, it was like, oh, you know, because I literally didn't even understand that. So the things, Cam, that you bring to the table that helps Otis and vice versa, man, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's why I love seeing what you guys are doing, because I know, you know, you have value. But I do want to share a story of one of the veterans that we helped. So I started volunteering doing this around 2017. And what happened is, you know, once I got to 100%, I just started writing about it. You know, this is my newest book, Stay in the Fight, and I'll talk about that at the end. But because I write and publish books, when I got to 100%, I just wrote about it. Mm-hmm. And at the end, so I started just helping vets, just going out and helping. And I was at a school, and a lady saw my Ranger hat on that I wear, and she says, can you help my husband? He's a Vietnam vet, Miss Pam. And we got a video of him. And she said, he's only getting $169 a month at 10% since Vietnam. And he's got a lot of issues. And I gave her my card. And I said, Miss Pam, tell Mr. John I'm going to help. Now, you got to understand, I'd only helped 2 people at that particular time. This would be my 3rd family. And I don't know about you, Otis. Have you ever went to somebody's house shaking? Like, I hope I can do what I told this lady I can do. Like, you're driving over there and you're nervous because I kind of thought I could, but I hadn't done it enough time to prove it even to myself. Right? When I get to their house, now, you understand, 50 years after Vietnam, he'd been going to the VA. So she has his medical records in a FedEx pouch on the table, 5 inches thick, pushed down. So much going on. Mm. And I started working with him. And that night I turned to Mr. John and I said, I'm going to help you. And I've never said this to somebody except for that time. I said, I'm going to help you get 100% because you deserve it. Mm-hmm. And I left there that night. First night I worked with him for 2 hours with tears in my eyes driving home. And I was praying, God, give me the knowledge to help these people. Because she could not retire from work because he was only getting $169 a month and his Social Security. And she had to keep working. But he couldn't be at the house by himself, but she had to go to work. This is the stories I tell about veterans and their families. So I went back next month, worked 2 more hours. I went back the next month. I put 6 hours in, plus the phone time, about 8 hours in helping them. And when they got to 100%, I went to visit them about a month ago. Now Mr. John has a brand new Ford truck. I'm getting choked up, man. You know what I'm saying? Because this stuff is real to me. And now Miss Pam can be at home with her husband every day, taking care of him. And I tell my son all the time, this is the power of what we do. By simply teaching a course that takes out all the garbage and trying to figure out the VA system, Service Connect, Zero Service Connect, what paperwork to fill out, what to say on the documentation, what to do in the compensation pension exam. We take all of that garbage and we make it simple. And when I went by to visit Miss Pam and Mr. John a month ago, and I'm sitting on their porch and I see that brand new Ford F-150. I say, yes. And I see her retired, being able to be with her husband right now and take care of him. I tell my son every day, I thank you for, you know, because I would have been helping people, but I would have been helping 10, 15 people a year, maybe, instead of what we're doing now. And so I want to commend, just you and Cam Otis for doing what you guys are doing, for just bringing us on the platform and letting us talk about that. Because I tell people all the time, when you say the term veteran, let me tell you what that means to me. I can name 20 guys that died in training off the top of my head right now, today. So it's not just vets that serve in combat, vets that served and got killed in a truck accident, vets that served and got killed in Panama on a jump, vets that served and got killed on a range or explosives blowing up. So if you're a veteran and you're still breathing, I salute you and I respect you, because we would not have our freedoms without people loving to serve our country. And man, I love all of that stuff. So there you go.
I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind that you love all that stuff. No, that's awesome. So I want to shift, because you threw it up and we had a little bit of a hiccup in the Wi-Fi internet thing, and your book. So, because writing a book ain't just you wake up one morning and you start writing. That's a path. And so what I'm curious about is what drove you. What drove you to write a book?
Yeah. Well, actually, I've written 4 at this particular time. And my newest book, like I said, is Stay in the Fight, A Champion's Creed. Look at that picture on that book, man. Look at that, boy. That's a warrior.
That's
right
badass.
there. Yeah. So stay in the fight.
Did they put makeup on you to get that picture looking so good?
They didn't, but I got a good photographer. See, when you hire people, another young guy at my church that knows what he's doing, Nick, and boy, he can make you look pretty good on these pictures. But what drove me to writing is this. I learned I'm a storyteller, first off. That's what I do. I communicate. I tell stories. I've been speaking since I was 5 years old. My granddaddy was a preacher. I grew up in the church, so I literally grew up with a microphone in my hand. And there's never been a time I've been afraid to speak publicly. I'm that guy that says, "Where's the microphone?" And it's funny, when I went to college, and I took a communications class in college, and I remember lesson 1, page 1 of communications. It said most people rather die than speak in public. I went, really? I said, I can't wait to talk. I mean, it's great. But what drove me to writing is I wanted to write stories to motivate people. I keep a rock in my office right on my desk because, and I tell people, this is the greatest award I've ever received. Now, I know you see a lot of stuff, on my uniform, and, I love the Green Beret, and I know, all the SF paraphernalia you see in the office, and I do love all of that too. But that particular rock was given to me when I was a drill sergeant. And I graduated drill sergeant school at the age of 21. Yeah, I know, it's even crazy to think about that today. And so I became a drill sergeant at 21 years old. And I can remember having a cycle where it was 13 weeks infantry. And I trained these young guys. And at the end of it, they didn't have any money to buy me a plaque. They couldn't go buy a plaque. They gave me a rock. And they said to me, Drill Sergeant Johnson, you can motivate a rock. And this was 1985. So that's kind of been like, wow. If they saw that kind of inspiration in me speaking and motivating, I have to write about that. So I started writing and telling stories and going to conferences and listening to speakers like Zig Ziglar. And I got a chance to speak for the great Zig Ziglar at the Zig Ziglar Corporation, August the 28th of 2006. And, Les Brown and memorizing poems like this one. I choose not to be a common man. It's my right to be uncommon if I can. I seek opportunity, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen. humbling dove for having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk to fail and to believe, to move and to win. I choose not to be a common man, and I am made for excellence. If you understand the power of the spoken word, and you can write these things and speak and move and teach others, these are all positive affirmations. See, this is what I always tell people. When I was a drill sergeant, what I learned at 21, I still do today at 58. Because I would walk around, make those soldiers stand at attention, and I would say stuff like this: "You're an American hero. Look at you. Get your chest up. You're one of the greatest warriors in the world. You are born to win." And I consistently, even as a young 21, 22-year-old drill sergeant, will win drill sergeant of the cycle. Matter of fact, I won it so many times, they started being political and giving it to other drill sergeants. Right? Because I wasn't married at the time. I spent time with my platoon. And after Chow at 1700, we came back at our 2000, and we ran 2 or 3 miles with me calling cadence, not for punishment. Those guys wanted to do it. And we ran around, here we go, all the way, infantry, every day, hardcore, right? But what did it do for those guys? It made them believe, because they started speaking it every single day. So what we have to do is we have to change the way we say things. And I want my son to kind of focus on this now. He told you one story about when he was in college, about me encouraging him. I got to add to that, and I want him to say something here. He told it, but he didn't get the details. He did call me on the phone, and I was living in Oxford, and we were right there at Ole Miss. So I said, "Son, you got a class after lunch?" He said, "No, I don't have a class." So I went and picked him up in my truck. I brought him home. And I didn't say nothing the whole ride home. I just let him sit there. And I'm just driving, because I know I'm about to drop the hammer when I get to the house. And once we walk in the house, I said, "Son, have a seat." I said, "Now, if you tell me the Lord has told you to change majors, and that's something in your spirit you feel you're hearing from God," I said, I will go along with you. Look me in the eye and tell me that's what you're telling me." He said, "No, Dad." I said, "So you're just telling me that accounting is hard." Now, you got to understand, his whole life, he, quote, the smart kid. A honor roll, maybe a B here or there, National Honor Society. I would walk in his room when he was in high school, Otis, and let me tell you what, Cam, he'd be listening to music, literally have the TV on and doing trigonometry and making an A in trigonometry. And I would look at a trigonometry problem, and I'd be like, "Boy, get all the answers from your teacher before you come home." That's right. Because I can't help you, right? So picture that. He was this kid, everybody's told, his teachers, everybody in National Honor Society, he finished in the top percentage of his high school graduating class. He never struggled academically, never. And he went to a great high school. His freshman year in college was the first time he struggled academically in his life, ever. And I want him to talk about what that felt like, because, see, it's different. Me, I was never good academically. I had to fight for everything I got, Okay. And so, a good C in high school was great for me. I was like, "Oh my God, that's a C. That's a success." So what did that feel like, pushing, and even to get the kind of success you're at the end of the day?
Oh man, it's a good question. Caught me off guard. Oh man, I forgot a lot of those details. Maybe I kind of tucked those in the back of my mind and just remember the part I shared. But I think it felt it was a new feeling, doing something that, I mean, all my life, like you said, it was easy. I would just work hard and things would kind of come. And, for the most part, when I was in school, I would learn everything I needed to learn in class and did my homework and then I made an A. I was just kind of the cycle. So to have to be in that position where I couldn't just do my homework, I had to go back and re-review it and then go back and reread and maybe even spend some extra time doing some talking to the teacher or going to a study hall or whatever it may have been. And, so that felt challenging. I think because things were so easy for me, you kind of just get used to the easy life. And so when you kind of hit that wall and you have to kind of push, it's tough, but you just kind of every day keep going at it, keep pushing. And, I mean, honestly, I probably did that from freshman year throughout my entire career in accounting, just because, it was never just easy street. It was always a challenge. And so, going from that to what we're doing now, honestly, at times I feel like this is kind of easy again, in some ways. We put this
comfortable.
Yeah, you said don't get comfortable. Or get comfortable. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten really comfortable, really. But no, it's been really cool to kind of do something I feel like I'm more passionate about in this, and something that really feels more natural for me. Marketing, talking to people, having conversations, sharing just the great things that we're doing. And I feel like that it just having that hard work, those years of just focus and hard work and fighting through something, to be in a place where, it does take work to kind of put everything together, and it has, but just it's more natural for me and a lot more fun. And so I'm just more appreciative of the current state that I'm in, just being able to work with my dad, and every day we're talking to vets and everybody. When you get on the call with us, just that call in itself, free consultation in itself, is just impactful. And every time, everybody we talk to, their life has changed. They learn, they go, okay, wow, like this is out there for me. I need to really go after it. Whether they use our service, they use somebody else, whatever it may be, they can go after it. And so, I mean, it just definitely makes me a lot more grateful for where I am right now. Just having put all that work in. And I also understand being in a position where you just got to work hard and just give your all.
You speak on the passion there, and I can really see the passion in both of y'all. I think people will be able to hear the passion as well. Don't worry about that. But what it really drives me back to, especially with that story, is one of my favorite books, which is Grit. And they talk about grit, and you break it down into passion and perseverance. And perseverance, you and I are both saying, is what we were taught by our fathers through these type of life lessons. And the passion, that's where it really starts to get effortless, is when that passion starts coming in. But what made me think of it is one of the things they talk about in the book is how many kids get A's and B's all the way through till junior year of high school, freshman year of college, somewhere in there, and then their life falls apart. And they can't put it back together because they never learned what to do when they hit that kind of struggle. And I think it's so important that you learn it from other people, whether it be your dad or your coach or whatever it is, because if you don't get that perseverance from something, then you're going to fall apart when you hit those challenges. And I think that's why, when you look at a lot of people, they go through and do all these studies of West Point, all these different places about who actually makes it through. You can have straight A's. Hey, that's good. That is a good tool for you. But the people who are actually making it through had straight A's, and they were playing rugby, and they're playing football in the fall, and they're wrestling in the winter, and they're in student council and all these different things because they've been striving for that success. They've been pushing through those barriers. And I think that's what, Ranger, you've done a great job of teaching.
Well, it's funny you brought that up, and I love that book you said, Grit. I got that right here, Dr.
on my bookshelf right here.
I got that one. I know why we loving each other, brother. We're reading some of the same stuff. What I'll say, like with Gino, is I made him go out for football, not because I thought he was going to be a Division I athlete. I have two other sons that were Division I athletes. One played college football and one played college basketball. I knew his path would be academics, even as he was balancing my checkbook in the fourth grade. I mean, really, I'm telling the truth. He was that brilliant mathematician as fourth grade student. God just blessed him with that, and he could do it, not even thinking about it. Okay, I still don't know my timetables. All right, but what happened was, I got him into football. I made him do Marine Corps JROTC in high school. I literally made him do the ROTC. I made him play football. And I hate to say made, but you know what? Why not? You know, I pushed him in there and I said, this is going to help your life, because I knew he would have the academics, but I'm like you, Cam, with grit. You can have the academics and be soft as tissue paper. And the first thing some hit you with, you quit. Oh God, I can't make it no more. Oh God, these teachers don't like me. Quit your belly aching. Suck it up. Right? Suck it up. Quit whining. And it's like, okay, well, okay, it's hard. Well, you know what? Being broke is hard too. You know? That's real hard. Right? And that's the kind of conversations I had with my kids. You know, well, okay, that's hard, but not achieving the best you can be is hard too. Man, look, I tell everybody every day this. So I say, look, man, I am living the American dream. I say it every day. I said to my son, I said, brother, I said, son, we had a great life, don't we? I told him this growing up as a kid. I've always told my kids that you're blessed. You get to do these things. We live in the greatest country in the world where we have opportunity to become literally whatever it is we can imagine and are willing to pay the price and become. And I always tell people this all the time. I said, man, I left East Texas 40 years ago with a shaving kit and a towel and some shorts and a t-shirt, right? I got on a plane in Shreveport, flying to Fort Jackson for basic training in June 1980 with a shaving. I didn't even have a shaving kit. It may have been wrapped up in a towel in a little bag, right? I know it wasn't a shaving kit because my mama didn't have that. I know that for a fact. But what's happened was when I look at my life, I'm thankful because I get to share with Cam and with Otis and with Gino and with people all over the world about how God has blessed me and how we've been able to teach others and motivate people. And this does not get tiring for me. Yeah, I mean, look, we're literally doing. My son said it, 40 calls a week talking to veterans all over the country. And yeah, you get smoked after doing about 10 Zoom calls a day because you got to have your energy up on every last one of them. Because every time a veteran gets on with you, I can't be laid back here in the chair. Hey, vet, good to talk to you today. I got to be sitting up. Hey, glad to have you on the call. And, you're doing that 10 times a day. Yeah, you get drained. But you know what? I love it. Because when you can get up every day, I love this Bible verse, Proverbs 18:16 says, a man's gift maketh room for him and bringeth him before great men. And God did not give me the gift of academics from a standpoint of mathematical, like he gave my son. But the great thing is that piece that he gave Gino and what he gave Ranger, we can come together and make something great. That piece that he gave Otis and gave Cam, guess what? You can come together and do something fantastic. And this is how we make our country better, our communities better, by every day trying to get better. And listen, it's kind of like one of the old Special Forces guys. I'll never forget, Otis, when I went through Special Forces assessment and selection, there was this old master sergeant there, and I forget his name. He was from the island of Grenada. And he had a deep accent. You could hardly understand his accent. He said, Special Forces Tropa, always thinking. You cannot be dumb and be a Green Beret. Let me break it down. He says, a Special Forces troop is always thinking. You cannot be dumb and be a Green Beret. And I'll never forget, you couldn't understand the guy, but he was saying, use your intelligence. Use your mind and become that, because when they drop us in a foreign country, they drop us in that land without a whole bunch of instructions, and they just say, get it done.
One thing you made me think of is as they're talking about, like, don't be too comfortable, and you got to kind of have that failure, that pushback in your life in order to really be successful and, be strong. One of the things I've heard quite a bit recently, and from people who are big fitness proponents, especially like Joe Rogan, Jocko, those type of guys, one of the things they talk about is if you're ever too comfortable, you need a good workout, because that physical failure is a pretty darn good substitute for a failure at work or a failure in academics or whatever it is. It's not quite the same thing, but it definitely helps you to toughen yourself up and to be ready for those other types of failures.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I still, well, I tell people, no, I'm not able to run 5 miles and do that kind of stuff, but I got my little workouts I do and go to the pool and things of that nature, because you got to keep your mind and your body moving at the same time. Listen, and I said this before, we are a soft nation. Okay. I've been to 16 different countries. When you travel around and you see how tough it is in other places, I did not want I wanted my kids to be tough. It's like I told them, I said, I'm planning on living quite a few more years, but when I'm gone, I want you to be tough enough to make it without daddy being here. I don't want you to be, oh my God, daddy's gone, now you fall apart. Mm-hmm. Because see, if it's like that, I didn't do my job. If it's like that, you're not prepared, and I did not prepare you as a man or woman to be successful. Mm-hmm. All right. And so, yeah, it's about physical. My son, we talk all the time. When he come here, now look, I'm going to tell you this, and you'll laugh about it. What he doesn't say, Otis, is when he was a kid, I worked him hard. Now at 58, and he's 32, when he comes home with me, I got a little workout in the backyard, he smokes me. Right? He smokes me. And I'm laughing now because he's saying, okay, Dad, let's push. And I'm like, son, oh my God, I can't snivel. I got to keep going on. But it's like, I totally am the student and he's the teacher. And you know what, Cam? That's okay with me.
I got to ask this, and really of Camden and Gino on this one. So, I wrote a book. I'm not quite the author that Ranger is yet. I'm aspiring still. So I got one book under my belt. Ranger, you've got four books. Gino, when you writing your first book, and what's it going to be called? What's it going to, or at least what's it going to be about? Camden, you're next.
That's funny. That's a good question. I've actually thought about this. It's definitely not at all related to what my dad talks about. I mean, I would say one of my gifts is poetry and rhyming, and I love music, and I write poetry all the time. I just wrote a poem yesterday, and so honestly, it would be probably a book of poetry, just about different aspects of life, love and relationships and just different things people go through. So, I mean, and I've actually written it out. I've gotten like ideas jotted down in my phone. Haven't done it yet, but I would say that'll probably be one of my first books.
I love that because, here you are, the number guy, very black and white. There's the numbers say this, and then you got this whole other side of you that you're writing poems. That's a pretty cool yin and yang going on there. So, all right, Camden, I was nice to you and gave you a moment to think about this.
I had one ready to go because I have to say, and this is why I laughed at your point earlier about it being a process. You don't just wake up and write a book, because I did start writing one this year, like a lot of folks probably in 2020. Didn't go very far, but there was a month there where I was sitting down and writing, 5 times a week. But basically the idea for that was taking a lot of kind of the same type of thing I've seen with you, Dad, and with a lot of other veterans, especially the Green Berets, is how they're able to apply this leadership from all their time in the service and boil it down to these nuggets for folks to understand that don't have that kind of background. And I have not been in the Army. I am not a Green Beret, but I love rugby. And I have learned a lot in rugby, and it has given me just about every tool that you might not have given me, Dad, I got from rugby. I can say pretty confidently.
Right.
And I've thought it would be really interesting to boil that down, probably, since I'm not sure how much I could write, more of a art of war type thing, maybe, just little passages here and there about random stuff you or John or somebody yelled at me and why it stuck with me. And I'm thinking about it in accounting class when I want to quit and stuff like that all these years later.
Well, since we're doing it, Ranger, do you have another book in the coffers? I mean, back up in here in the cobwebs.
You know what I really do? I've always had this book. Again, I've been writing motivational leadership books. I got 4 different ones of those. But man, I got a Special Forces Green Beret story that I've been spinning around in my head for years, and I want to be kind of like, Rambo A-Team, but with an A-Team going on a rescue, and Halo in and scuba and just doing SF stuff and kind of cool. And literally, I want to write that screenplay / book because I've thought about it for years and I've looked at it. And I of course, when you watch these great movies on Netflix, now I got a lot of that kind of stuff. I go, I could write that probably better than them because I've done it. Right. And so, yeah, that's one down the road that I can see me writing because I love that kind of genre. And, anything dealing with people jump out of planes, blowing stuff up, shooting is always a great movie. My kids mess with me because they'll say, Dad, here's a good movie you need to watch. I say, any shooting? Are they blowing stuff up? Well, Dad, you gotta get into the dialogue. Hey, man, if it's not Rambo or something like that, Sylvester Stallone or John Wayne, save all that dialogue for later. Okay? I'm not into that. So they love messing with your body because if it's not shooting and blowing stuff up, you really ain't trying to watch it and say, yeah, you're probably right.
Hey, I can see it now, Dad. The big marquee Ranger Johnson film starring Jeff Bosley.
Oh.
we got a crew put together. We're gonna be coming on.
There we go. We'll get Jeff in the leading role of it.
There we go. Start the podcast tour now.
That's right.
Hey, well, there was one thing I wanted to kind of go back to as we were talking about, which really it's what Champion Builders does. And you talked about helping vets to get their disability percentages that they deserve from the VA. And what really struck me on that, and Gino, I wanted to go to you for this, is the reason I love econ is because a lot of these problems that people just like to complain about, I realize it's really just a market failure, that there's something going on there where people aren't getting the full picture. And it's when you start breaking things down like that, it can be a lot more simple really when you go to solve the problem. So is that what this was like for you, that you had seen Ranger solve that problem and you went, oh, I can replicate this?
Yeah. He was telling me about what he was doing, and honestly, I mean, I got to definitely give honor to God because it just came instantly what it could be, and I didn't really. I guess I saw that people needed the help, and he was giving them this help, and he was spending all this time with them, and I said, that's interesting. Shouldn't they be getting that help from someplace? Shouldn't somebody else be teaching them all this stuff? I feel like this is what you're teaching it's pretty simple, and every vet, if you have a service-connected injury, you need that help and you need to be walking through that. And I'm like, wow, it's interesting that it's that way. And I said, you know what, we can just really put it out there and just see what it's all about. And it's funny, before I even left my job at Home Depot, we hadn't even brought anybody into the program at that point, but I saw what it was and how he was already helping people. And I said, if there are 20 people out here that already needed this help, I'm sure there are thousands more out there that need it also. So just kind of understanding that, just the numbers of it, I said, let's just go out and do it and let's help people. So yeah, it's that's basically what it's been. And what we do is it's an online course. So it's about 2 hours, just over 2 hours of just lessons going step by step, A to Z. How do you actually get your benefits? How do you register with the VA? How do you write up statements? And how do you have your appointments? And just really understanding your case. And our goal is to really make people in our program become masters of their case. Not just kind of give it to somebody else and have them prepared, and you just kind of go with it. But you actually understand your case. You understand why you're getting paid, what you're getting paid, how you feel about it, put your story out there. And, we give that course, but we also have weekly coaching calls on Tuesday nights. My dad gets on Zoom webinar and just will motivate, encourage, answer questions. And that's something that actually the student we were talking to last week, he said that's what carried him forward. Just having that motivation, having that encouragement to just stay in the fight and just keep on going after the benefits that you've earned. And, that's something that we provide. We also have a private Facebook group as a community for everybody in our program. And I'm also available via email and even text. Folks in our program, they can email me at any time and they get a response. So it's just kind of an all around, hey, we want to support you. We want to give you the tools necessary. We want to support you as you go through it to make sure that you're successfully getting the claim that you've earned.
And that's why there my dogs go in the background, and that's why I think of entrepreneurs, and why I wind up being an optimist, because I see entrepreneurship as a relatively simple solution to a lot of these market failures. And when you think about a market failure, it's generally going to be your lack of information or a low number of transactions. We're not great at buying cars because we don't buy that many. And then you add in the used car salesman, lack of information. That's a really easy example there. When you start breaking it down to other industries, heck, doctors, we respect them. They went to the school and all that. They deserve it. But gosh, is there a lack of information there on our side? And now that we have it and we've got the WebMD, now we just look even more foolish because we come in with the wrong diagnosis, right? And you take that and you throw it together with two of the other huge market failures that we don't even have to dive into, which are insurance and generally just public sector and bureaucracy. And you're going to wind up with this big pile of one of the, VA being in this huge market failure like that. So I think it's so awesome that you're coming in with, again, relatively simple entrepreneurial solution to go in and kind of plug that gap in the market and just connect people with the money that they deserve and the money that should be theirs and the money that's really, in most of the cases, to my knowledge, at least already there. And they just need to be getting it. And I just love that kind of solution. Again, that you see me smiling here and me get all passionate now, because that's what I love. Is I love to see those free market entrepreneurial solutions to the things that other people just wave their finger at. And so I really just applaud y'all for it.
Thank you. Absolutely, Cam. Yep, absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna shift gears, and my favorite part of the show is what you learn. And for me, I'll go first because Gambit never gets to go first. It's just one of those things because I am.
It's always fun to watch you try to come up with a reason to justify it. Occasionally he does. Other times he's like, nah. You just go second. That's it.
It's the dad says so reason is generally what it is, But for me, it was who is that person? Who's my Miss Jean? And because I just think I love that story and how this woman made such an impact in who you are today. And I think about and I, you know what, I think I've got a couple of them, and and some of them I still grab beers with, and it's just that is such a really cool thing to think about and be grateful for, and let them know you're grateful for it too. And I think that's something that I've learned, and I need to, and I continuously focus towards that. Being truly gracious and not just saying thank you, but really having gratitude in that thank you. So
throw it out.
Ranger.
Who is it? They might listen.
Well, one of them is your former rugby coach, John.
Oh, he's on my list.
Yep. He's John. I'll tell him tonight. He's my Miss Jean, because I'm having a beer. I'm having beer with John tonight. And I'm just gonna let him know he's my Miss Jean.
He's gonna have a weird response to that.
Yeah, I know. Ranger, what you learn, brother?
You know what I've learned? I've listened to Cam talk about a market failure in businesses, and literally, as he was talking, I have to go back to my son and what Gino has done in marketing champion builders. .com, it's builders with a Z. So he came in and he said, Dad, I can help you. Of course, knowing as little as I knew about marketing, I wondered how. You know, I knew I could teach the program. I knew I could motivate people. I knew I could help people because I'd already been helping people. But I didn't understand the marketing piece. I had no idea. And that one piece of information that you just talked about, Cam, marketing failure. Yeah, the VA is a complex bureaucracy with so many fingers and moving parts. And I had figured it out, and I know the system, but I didn't understand marketing. Mm-hmm. So what I've learned from the call is what you just verified, solidified, made true, and rammed home was marketing, marketing, marketing. Mm-hmm. And I'll leave it with this. It's funny when we talk about marketing. Well, people say, well, you know, is there such a thing as market saturation? And I always like to say, well, McDonald's and Coca-Cola still doing commercials every day. Mm-hmm. and Nike, right?
Oh, yeah.
So apparently there's no market saturation because they're still doing commercials. So thank you for that, Cam. That's what I learned. Absolutely.
Gino, how about you?
Oh, man. You know, let me see. You know, I was kind of just listening a lot. I know my dad shared a good amount. And, you know, I would say one thing I learned was about how that conversation went down when I was in college. I completely forgot that. That's one thing. But no, outside of that one, no, I think just, of course, hearing my dad's story, you know, of course, we don't have these conversations where I'm just talking about or hearing him, hearing about what all he did when he was in the service and how things went down, and to really just hear about, you know, how good of a drill sergeant he was and how he really impacted people's lives and how he continues to do that. You know, I'm just grateful that he's my dad, and you know, continue to learn and see his passion and heart for people in that way. And so, yeah, I mean, I learned more about my dad, so that's definitely important.
That's awesome. I was kind of pulling for you learned that you have an Uncle Otis now. And,
oh, well, you know, that piece as well. You learn so much. You learn so much.
Oh,
Camden, how about you?
I was just going to say, I can relate to that one, Gino, because I think the one Army story I ever heard was on a rugby trip in Wales. And I learned a few months ago that was a lie to entertain the rugby boys on that trip that you told us, Dad. So that I still don't know much about it. I know you did a great job and you were there a while, but that's about it. But no, what I learned today came from you, Ranger, about being able to understand language and how important that is for leadership. I think it's something, you know, the communication, people think it's so simple. It's just, oh, we're just talking, but there's so much more to it. There's so much more meaning behind every word. And I can tell that you do a great job of selecting those words carefully and choosing words that are especially impactful. And I think that's a lesson I'm trying to take forward, because I know I talk too much and put too many words out there. I know that can devalue the words sometimes, but that is something that's really important for leadership, is being able to communicate clearly and concisely through those powerful words that are going to get people motivated, and not just motivated externally, because just like you said, if you're gone and we're not motivated, then what's the point? You got to get people motivated on an internal level to where they're firing themselves up. And I think you do a great job of that, Ranger.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you. Thank you.
So by the way, thank y'all for taking time this morning. It's been a lot of fun. How can our listeners get in touch with you and find out more about, you know, and I'll just list a couple, you know, your books, your Ranger, your speaking, and the programs that y'all are doing for veterans that, you know, their full compensation, helping them out with that.
Good deal. So for my books, you can go to my website. It's pretty easy to remember, rangerjohnson.com. That's rangerjohnson.com. And Amazon will send you a copy of that. Again, my latest book, Stay in the Fight, A Champion's Creed. Gotta get it. All right. And I'm going to let my son talk about the VA programs that we have and how they can get in contact with him.
Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, you can go straight to championbuilders.com. That's Champion Builders with a Z, ChampionBuilderZ.com. And you can go in there and you can actually schedule a free consultation if you're a vet We're just curious about hearing whether or not you have benefits out there for you. We can have a conversation, free consultation, just to work through your story and talk to you about that. So you have championbuilders.com. You can also look us up on LinkedIn, Gino Johnson CPA, of course, Ranger Johnson, or Terry Ranger Johnson on LinkedIn. And we also have a LinkedIn page for Champion Builders as well.
All right, I just gotta say something because Ranger, when you spelled out Ranger, you know what comes to mind when you know what N stands for. N stands for knowledge, and
Yes, sir. Yes.
that's an old school story for y'all if you ain't heard that one.
You know,
Hey guys, man, it's been a lot of fun, and you know what? This is like a 3 cup of coffee, and shifting into a beer and a whiskey conversation. I could just see this all day. But I appreciate y'all taking the time. Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank y'all again for listening to today's show. Special thanks to the Johnsons, Ranger and Gino, for joining us today, and our sponsors, MASH, Military and Athletic Strength Hemp Oil, and Verbi Virtual Events. You can check out recent episodes of The Cam and Otis Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and check out a full archive at thecamandotishow.buzzsprout.com. The Cam and Otis Show is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next week.